Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this webinar. My name is Joel Graf, and I'm a national contact point at Euresearch network office. So today we are going to focus on practitioners in the Horizon 2020 security program. And something I would like to make clear from the very beginning is that you as a practitioner are really wanted. The European Commission wants you to get involved in security projects because they would like to have you expertise in the projects in order to learn about more about the needs of practitioners and of course also to benefit from what you can contribute to the project. Behind this background, this webinar will provide some basic information about funding and networking opportunities in Horizon 2020. Some technical issues. We will record this webinar. It will be published on the Euresearch YouTube channel afterwards, so you can access it then again. And I will also send you a follow-up email with the presentation and some useful links. So let's now go to the presentation. I will share my screen. The agenda of today, I will start with a short introduction of Horizon 2020 and more specifically, I will discuss the security program of Horizon 2020. I will then present some concrete funding and networking opportunities, and we will then have the pleasure to hear more from Juan Araiza Irujo from Vicomtech. He will tell us about the Asgard project, which is a Horizon 2020 project, which focuses explicitly on the practitioner need. And in the end, we will have some time for a question and answer and for a short wrap up. What I would like to do right now is a first poll on your professional background. So you will now see you should now see a poll where you just can put in with a few words what your background is. If you're coming from a law enforcement agency, from a company, from university. Okay, thank you very much. So I see that we have someone from a national law enforcement entity, someone coming from the University on Public Health and Disaster Resilience. We have a company, someone from a communication, and then we have our guest speaker, of course, and another coordinator. Okay, thank you. Let's go back to the presentation then. I would now like to say just a couple of words about Euresearch. Euresearch is a network contracted by the Swiss State Secretariat for Education, Research and Innovation. And the task of our network is to inform and advise on European research and innovation programs, particularly on Horizon 2020. The network is composed of a network office in Bern and regional offices all over Switzerland. The first entry point for researchers, company, also the public administrations are often the research offices in the regions. They can give you an overview of the different opportunities within Horizon 2020. If you are a researcher from the university, our colleagues in the regions will also support you with the application procedures and the grants administration. If you are working for a company, then we have the company advisors at your research offices in the regions, and they will be also happy to attend you. If you're coming from the public administration or law enforcement agency, again, you can go to the regional research office, or you can directly contact us at the network office. The message here is really that there is no wrong entry point. So just come back to us, and if necessary, we will forward your request to a colleague. At the network office in Bern are the so-called national contact points. I am one of them, and national contact points are responsible for specific thematic areas within Horizon 2020. So I am responsible, amongst others, for the security program within Horizon 2020. We are in close contact with the European Commission and can therefore provide first-hand information to you. So again, do not hesitate to contact us. We would be happy to support you. Let's now come to the overview of the Horizon 2020 program. You see here that there are lots of different thematic areas, and today we are going to talk here about this one, the security program. So let's start maybe with a definition of practitioners. What does the European Commission mean when it talks about practitioners? It's someone who is qualified or registered to practice a particular application in the field of security or civil protection. So in practice, this means often that practitioners are coming from emergency services, they're firefighters, police, border guards, intelligence agencies, and so on. This is something I mentioned already in the very beginning. Practitioners are really wanted. If you take a look at the different calls in the security program, then you will often find these phrases. For example, this topic requires the active involvement of at least 3 first responders organizations or agencies. Or also here this sentence, the topic requires the active involvement of at least 3 law enforcement agencies. This means that the European Commission really wants practitioners to be involved in the security program, as I already mentioned. They want your expertise. They want also to know what your needs are. So this security program is really designed for you as a practitioner. This is the so-called work program of the Secure Societies program in Horizon 2020. And here you will find all the different calls, all the different thematic areas within security. I will also send you the link afterwards so that you can access directly this work program. There are 3 main calls. There is a call on the fight against crime and terrorism, another call on border and external security, and then also a call on disaster resilient society. So those are the relevant calls for you as practitioners. There are also other calls in the security program, but those are the main calls for you that are of interest to you as a practitioner. Let's go quickly through the different calls. The calls have so-called topics, and the topics are the specific texts where you have to respond to with a project. So for disaster resilient societies, we have a topic on the human factors and organizational aspect for disaster resilient societies. We have the technologies for first responders, pre-normative research and demonstration for disaster resilient societies, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear clusters, so-called CBRN cluster, demonstration of novel concept for the management of pandemic crisis. In the call for fight against crime and terrorism, again, we have the human factors of fighting against crime and terrorism. So the human factor, this means basically that the question is not focused on technologies, but rather on questions, for example, of radicalization. So how does someone get radicalized? So this is more a question for a social scientist, for example. Then technologies to enhance the fight against crime and terrorism. This is really more targeting technologies. Then information data stream management to fight against cybercrime and terrorism. And there is also one topic on explosive detection, intelligence, and forensics. Last but not least, we have a call for border and external security. Again, here a call which is more targeting social sciences and humanities, the human factors and organizational aspects of both and external security. So this can be, for example, to analyze migration flows and so on. This is rather also a social scientists topic, not so much focused on technologies. Then we have a topic, technologies to enhance border and external security, and also the demonstration of applied solutions to enhance border and external security. There is one specific topic for a network of practitioners and other actors in the field of security. So the idea here is really to bring different practitioners organizations together and discuss together the needs of those first responders, law enforcement agencies, and so on. For 2019, the deadline for all those topics I just mentioned is the 22nd of August. And as I already stated, I will send you the slides afterwards, and there you will be able to access directly the topic text. So I was going now very quickly through the different topics. If you are interested in a specific topic, then you may just go to the full text. And of course, also you may contact me directly, and then we can discuss those topics. This is an example of a topic text, just to know for you how it looks like. We have here the example of the topic technologies to enhance the fight against crime and terrorism. In the topic text, there is always a section specific challenge where your main commission says what the challenge is. And in this case, it is that the organized crime and terrorist organizations are often at the forefront of technological innovation, and law enforcement agencies are often lagging behind. Then the solution that has to be found, so there's a growing need to focus on technology opportunities provided by new and emerging technologies. For 2019, there is a subtopic, so it's about trace qualification and forensic analysis. And then finally, you have also a section on the expected impact. So what should the specific impact be of a project? In this case, it's amongst others, improved investigation capabilities, especially regarding quality and speed. So again, you see, this is a topic really targeting the practitioner needs. I would now like to say a few words about networking opportunities, because I think this is really something that Horizon 2020 offers. Great networking opportunities. Even if you're not going to participate directly in a project, there are a lot of possibilities to get in touch with other practitioners. For example, so-called brokerage events. The brokerage events you see here, they have been organized by the network of national contact points for security. And you can see here that we had this year, for the 2090 topics, we had already 3 brokerage events where people meet each other and people that are interested in participating in Horizon 2020 projects. And in this case, those events were really specifically targeting the practitioners in the security field. We had one brokerage event on border security, another on disaster resilience, and then also one brokerage event on crime and terrorism. All 3 brokerage events have taken place in Paris this year. The community of users. The European Commission is supporting a community of users in the European Union or in Europe in general to reduce the current fragmentation in security research, and also to facilitate information exchanges among and between policymakers, research, the industry, practitioners, and also the general public. And the key objectives are to ensure that research programming, so for example, Horizon 2020 really takes into account practitioners' needs, thereby also promoting research resources that are relevant to these practitioners. Another objective is to identify the most promising tools and methods in this Horizon 2020 project that have the potential to be taken up by practitioners. Within this community of users, there are different thematic fields. Again, disaster resilience, sports security, crime and terrorism, but also food safety, societal resilience, CBRN threats, health threats, critical infrastructure protection, and so on. The European Commission organizes regularly events for the community of users where common problems are addressed for the different fields I already mentioned. Best practices are shared. This is really the possibility to meet with other people in the field, other practitioners in the field, and to exchange also with the European Commission, to exchange with research and innovation organizations and the general public. So you can really participate also in these events, and I would really suggest you to just go to the website of this community of users and to take a look there. Often those events are taking place in Brussels. You don't have to pay for them. It's easy to access them. And I think this is a very good first step for an international network. Here are some other practitioner networks. We have here the International Forum to Advance First Responders Innovation. Unfortunately, I think Switzerland is not part of this network, but still, if you go to the website, you will find a lot of interesting information. We have the Innovation by Law Enforcement Agencies Network, Fire and Rescue Innovation Network, European Network of CBRN Training Centers, and then a Law Enforcement Agencies Dialogue Network. And I think that Juan Araiza is going to mention also some of those networks later on in his presentation. Let's now come to the partner search. I would like to show you some possibilities also to look for partners, to look for projects that have already received funding. So I have to change again here my screen. Okay, this is CORDIS, the Community Research and Development Information Service. This is a very useful database to look for projects that have already received funding on the Horizon 2020 and also previous research programs of the European Union. And I would like just to show you how you can look for specific projects in your field of interest. So just put, for example, law enforcement entities and let's say data analytics. Then you can search for projects. You can here also look for specific programs. Let's take here Horizon 2020 and let's go to the security program. And then you will find here 6 projects in this field of data analytics and security and law enforcement agencies. Amongst other, also here the Asgard projects. Then you can click here, and then you will have an abstract of the project. You will have the budget of the project here, and very useful also, you will know who the coordinator is. In this case, it's Vicomtech, and you will also see all the other participants which are taking place in this project. So this is really a very useful, tool for you as a participant. I would also like to show you here this funding and tenders portal of the European Commission. This is the official Horizon 2020 portal where you will find all the different calls and also other information, just to show you how it works. If you're looking for a specific topic, which you have, for example, now seen in the presentation, let's say technologies to enhance the fight against crime and terrorism. So let's just put technologies to enhance. We'll have here 2 topics which are arising, and then You will have here all the information on the specific topic, the topic description, the full topic text. And then you will also have here a partner search. You will see which organizations are interested in this specific topic, and you can then also view this organization and you can contact these organizations if you're interested to participate in this specific topic. I think this is also very useful to participants. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay, again here, Cordis and the funding and tenders opportunities portal. As I already stated, I will send you all this information also in a follow-up email so that you can also access those portals and have a look. I would now like to discuss some challenges and also some opportunities for practitioners in the security program. And I think that Juan will also tell us more about that later on, but I would just like to start here with some challenges. I think, first of all, if you are a practitioner, if you are working, for example, for a first responders organization in the law enforcement sector, whatever, I think one challenge to get involved in the Horizon 2020 security project is, of course, the workload. So you have just your daily business. And this is to be involved in a security project means, of course, also that you have to work for this project. You have to deliver for this project. And this means that you need time for it. The second point is also the commitment. If you are in a Horizon 2020 security program, you really have to also participate in the project. You have to work in the project, and this for several years, normally for 3 or up to 4 years. So for this time, your institution should be really committed to regularly get involved in a specific project. And the third challenge is also here the administrative issues. You have, of course, also to do some reporting to the European Commission. There are a question of financial aspects and so on, and this can be challenging as well. But here I would like to say that we from Euresearch are also there for you, so you can contact us and we will be very happy to help you if you have questions regarding legal, financial, administrative issues. We will be there for you. And it's something I think which is really manageable. It's a challenge, but it's possible also to do it. More important, of course, are the opportunities. And here I think to be involved in a Horizon 2020 project provides you with an excellent network. With a network on the international level, on the European level, but sometimes it's even beyond Europe. I think this is really something very important. And even if you don't participate in Horizon 2020 projects, still you can be active in the community of users network, for example, and there already you will meet a lot of different stakeholders on an international level. So I think this is really a great opportunity. Then, of course, you will also get insights in research and innovation if you are in a Horizon 2020 security project. You will be working very closely with different companies, with universities, and so on. And I think this is something very interesting also for practitioners. You will learn a lot also for your daily work there. And last but not least, also the international impact. So you will also be able to contribute to solve specific problems for practitioners, and this will have an impact on an international level. So I think this is definitely also something you should consider. It's now my pleasure to introduce Juan Araiza Irujo. Juan Araiza Irujo is a digital security manager at the company Vicomtech in Spain. And Vicomtech is an applied research center specializing in advanced interaction technologies, computer vision, data analytics, computer graphics, and language technologies. I'm really happy to have Juan here today with us because he will tell us about his concrete experiences in Horizon 2020 security project, the so-called Asgard project, which he is coordinating. So I will give now the words to Juan. Okay, Juan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I hope that you can all hear me well. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Joe. Thank you, everybody. It is actually my pleasure to be here with you. I will try to go quite briefly through some introductory slides, not specifically about the Asgard project, but about LEAs and what they should expect and how they I've seen in my experience that they can participate in this type of research projects. And then I will deep a bit into the specific Asgard project and how it involves many practitioners, mainly LEAs, but not only, and then also how we interact with other, as Joel mentioned, with other networks and other projects, mainly research in the field of security. Okay, very briefly, Vicomtech, my organization, we are a private but non-for-profit applied research center. We do only research. We do not have any commercial exploitation interest. So what we do in projects mainly is to develop the technology that then we transfer to private companies or directly to the end users. In this case, law enforcement agencies, first responders, etc. Okay. So in my presentation, again, I will talk about what security research projects are and what I think that LEAs should expect in general practitioners. Then I will briefly explain the Asgard project. I will present some preliminary results, and then I will also go through a few highlights and lessons learned of the Asgard project that we have had so far. The Asgard project started September 2016, and it will finish in February 2020. Okay. So again, before talking about the project, in general, in my experience, most of the LEA and practitioners, when they approach research projects, they expect to get involved in a project that will deliver during the project or right after the project final products that are operational ready and that they can use in their needs for the real investigations, cases, etc. This sometimes might be the case, but in most occasions is not the case. And this is very important for people approaching research projects to understand. And this is not product development, this is research. And as such, what is normally done is to get involved with something that initially is immature and that during the project is proved, is tested, is evaluated, and that it gets more mature, normally to the level of a prototype, which could be even an advanced prototype, but that in very few occasions is really a final product that can be used in our operational cases. For those things, for taking the results of research projects to the real kind of field, to the operational needs, there are follow-up actions and activities that actually normally can be used, again, in order to take those results of the security research projects and put them on the field for the practitioners. One more thing, when you think about a security research project, you have to remember that there is an initial phase, which is to prepare a proposal. Normally, when we talk about H2020 or similar programs, you prepare a proposal with some colleagues in a consortium. That proposal is presented, and it takes some time to prepare and to present the proposal. Then the European Commission takes some time to evaluate all the proposals, to do some security, ethical, and of course technical assessment or scrutiny on the proposals. And then normally after a few months, you get the results. And only a subset of all the presented proposals get the funding and can start a project. Then once you know that you will get the funding, there is also a few more months to sign the contract, the official contract with the European Commission. Therefore, since you start preparing the proposal until you present it, then you wait for the results, and then you sign the contract, it normally takes a year and a half or even more since you start preparing the proposal until you, if you are successful, you start executing the project. Okay, it's important to understand that. Then the project may last between 2 and 4 years normally, and you normally do not get the results at the beginning of it. So you start getting some initial results. When I mean by results, I mean not knowledge, not networking. Those type of things, you get them from the very beginning. But now I'm referring to the technological tools or results. You normally do not get that until the end, or maybe some intermediate interim results in the middle of the project. So once the project finishes, since you started working on the proposal, on the idea, until you finish the project, it might easily be 5-6 years. So it's important to have that time frame in your mind. Okay. So when you think about preparing a proposal, think about what you will need in the future, not what you need today. That's the key message of this slide. Okay. And again, when you prepare the proposal and you prepare the requirements, think about what you will need or what you expect you will need again in 4 or 5 years from now. This is related to what I said before. You will get a prototype. It could be a first version of a prototype or a very advanced prototype, even tested in an operational environment, but it will not be a product. Okay, so for that there are follow-up actions that you can take the benefit of. So which is the right or a very successful strategy that I've seen in some LEAs? Well, they get their own technological roadmap. They think about what they will need in 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, maybe even more. And based on in that technological roadmap, they proactively decide to which specific topics of the calls that you all mentioned before they want to present something. And they go in collaboration with other partners in consortia. They go and present proposals to the topics that are related to their technological roadmap. And then they present those proposals. And maybe 1 year they get 1 or 2 projects, another year they get nothing, and then maybe another year they get something else. But in the end, because all those proposals are aligned to their main roadmap, they end up getting the results that they really want. Again, thinking always about the mid-long term, not about what they need today. Okay. So if you've never started working on this type of security research environment, you should expect not to get any concrete operational result in what regards to technology, at least in the initial 2 years. Okay. But once you get into this loop, you will, and if you do it successfully, you will get results every year because you will get results from the different projects as you go. Okay. So I hope that initial kind of setting of expectations has been clear. Now I will change to what the Asgard project is. So Asgard is a project that was presented to a topic in the call of 2015 that was about fight against crime and terrorism. It was talking about forensics, technology, big data. It was asking for technological readiness levels or tools mature at the level of 6, which is not of course a product, but is more or less quite high in this research arena. And those are the things that the Asgard project said that was going to do. But the main aspect or goal of Asgard is not really that. What Asgard is trying to do is actually to improve the way that LEAs, practitioners, industry, and research organizations, we collaborate during the security research projects. so that because we do it better, in the end, LEAs will get better results. How do we do that? Well, we wanted to create a sustainable community. Actually, I have said that the project will finish in February 2020, but we are very actively working in making sure that there is a continuation to what we are building during the project. I will explain later. We have fluid, frequent, and fruitful collaboration during all the project between those three different types of actors. We have short, full development cycles and of 6 months, by the way. And after each of those, we have face-to-face meetings in which we conduct hackathons or capture the flag events. During those events, practitioners take the tools developed during that cycle, take the data that we have available, and they actually evaluate the tools as they are. Some tools are more mature, some others are not as mature, but they evaluate the tools every 6 months and they provide the feedback. As we go through the maturity of the tools, some of those tools will really be mature, and some of the tools are actually being used in operational cases by LEAs because they were not as mature at the beginning, but now they are starting to be mature, so they can start using those tools in the real cases. But at the beginning they were not. Okay, so in the project, instead of setting requirements at the beginning and presenting some results at the end, what we do is we conduct short development cycles, we present results every 6 months, we get feedback, we adjust or change the scope if needed, we add new things or we cancel things if needed, and then we continue developing and working. We try to build the community I just said in a way that should be complementary to the community of users that Joel mentioned, or to the SU GMOs, which are the iLeads and iLeanet that also Joel presented, and some other existing networks. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want the model, the approach, and methodology of the Asgard project to be adopted somehow by these networks in the future. Okay. Well, I will not spend much time here. This is just a graphical representation of what I said. Probably easier to see in here. Basically, what I wanted to say is that at the beginning, we started taking background tools, background technologies that organizations like mine we had from previous projects. We integrated those background tools. There was nothing new really at the beginning. We integrated everything and we started evaluating, but in an integrated model. Then we started delivering new tools and more new tools and more new tools, etc. And improving the integration platform. So only after summer this year, 2018, we have started to proactively reach other people, because at the beginning we wanted to focus on the processes, the integration of what we had, and making sure that we were delivering tools that were good enough, and that the process of working every 6 months and evaluating every 6 months was a successful and approach. And we believe so. And that's why now we are being more proactively reaching other people. Very, very important. As I said, LEAs do not only evaluate the tools during this hackathon or face-to-face meetings, they also take the tools, they deploy the tools in their houses, in their premises, in their LEA or practitioner premises. They use their own data. We don't really know exactly what they do, but they provide feedback to the rest of us, so that not only the feedback on the evaluations that we have all together, but also with the post-hackathon, as we call them, deployment and evaluation of the tools, the feedback we get from the LEAs, the end users, we improve and we adjust and we change all the time. Okay. The idea for this project is that we will not finish after this final hackathon here in November next year. The idea is, and we have already started planning for the next one and the next one and the next one. We want to maintain this way of working together in the future, not only during this project but beyond. Okay. This slide is just to graphically represent what I said before about how you can expect about the tools. Every single hackathon, when we present a set of tools, not all of them are at the same level of maturity. Some are more initial versions of prototypes just to prove the concept of something. Some others are more mature. Anyway, as you go in the different hackathons, these tools get cancelled, or these tools get new versions which are at a higher level or maturity level. New tools are added, etc., etc. So by now, and now we just finished the cycle, the 4th cycle. We're preparing the 5th one. By now, I will show the figures later. We have 49 tools. Some of them are at a high level. Most of them are at lower levels. Some very low because they are just initial versions or something. Some others are intermediate levels. But we have a subset of, I cannot give you the number right now, but let's say a dozen tools that are very close or already at operational level, so that tools that can be used by LEAs. And we will hopefully have more and more in the future. Okay. I already mentioned most of this case of these things. Sorry. One thing I didn't say is that in the Asgard project, we said from the beginning that the tools will be open source, following an open source. Sorry, they will follow open source principles. What I mean by this is that the code and everything will be made available to the members of the Asgard community, LEAs, and the rest of us working in this community. There will be a license that we are creating, a sui generis new license, which will follow open source principles, but of course it will not be for the whole world. It will be a license that will give access only to the members of this community. Okay. So all the tools that I'm talking about and the list that I will comment later, all of them are again will be made available to end users following these principles. We have tools on data acquisition. We have tools to process the data. For example, we have tools to get data from Darknet. Not many really, but we have some. We have tools to import data from for digital forensics. We have tools for importing data from OSINT, kind of social networks and other sources. We have tools for acquiring data. Then we have tools to process that data. We have tools for processing text, processing images, audio, video, etc. We have tools for extracting knowledge. By this, we mean analyzing more in depth the data that we have processed. So, for example, finding correlations, higher level kind of knowledge extraction of the data that has already been processed. And then we also have some front end or end user applications in 3 dimensions. We have them for intelligence, some applications for intelligence, some other applications for forensics, and some other applications for foresight or future horizon scanning. And then, of course, there is an orchestration layer that we need to integrate all the tools. One more thing that we do actually is we have a platform that allows creating pipelines or change of tools so that you can create templates of pipelines. Imagine that for one specific type of investigation, you normally use these tools to collect the data, these other tools to process the data, and some other tools to extract the knowledge and then to present it in a front-end application. So if this is very typical and you always do the same things for that type of investigation, you just create a template of a pipeline, and that can be reused as much as possible anytime that you need it. Okay. There is something I didn't mention, I believe, at the beginning, which is that this project wants to build a community. So the best way to build the community was to start already with a community. So this project includes 33 full partners, 12 end users, 15 research organizations and universities, and 6 industrial partners, SME and large. There is also a large and actually enlarging and increasing number of members to the stakeholder advisory group. Members of the stakeholder advisory group are not full partners. They are members of this advisory group, but they also kind of get involved. They get all the information, and they are even invited to attend these face-to-face hackathons that we have every 6 months. Okay. Any organization or person interested in getting access to this advisory group can contact us in this email address. By the way, Europol, DG Home from the European Commission, and 3 LEAs from the consortium are the ones that decide who is in and who is out. Okay, so they kind of decide who joins this community. So this is end user driven. Well, I do not have much more time, so I will quickly go through some preliminary results. As I said, the project started in September 2016. It will finish the project as such in February 2020, although we want to, again, have the community being lasting beyond the duration of the project. By now, we have got 3 different types of results. Initially, knowledge, technology, but also the building of the community. With regard to knowledge, let me give a very quick example, and this is in relation to what Joel said before. When we started defining the requirements for the project, remember we had the 12 LEAs. We also had some inputs from other members of the advisory group. But we needed a common language because not all of them were having the same kind of terminology, etc. So we first decided to create or to define a common process model, which are the basic stages that most investigations follow. So tasking, collection, evaluation, collation, analysis and interpretation, reporting, dissemination, and review was the process that we agreed. This is based on the UNO, I believe, process. Then we decided that we couldn't cover everything, so we defined 3 umbrella or very high-level use cases, and then we specified 35 specific user stories. A user story more or less maps to one type of investigation. So we have some user stories that are for digital forensics, some other user stories that are mainly focused on intelligence, and some other user stories that are more thinking about foresight. And then again, some of those, each of those user stories more or less corresponds to one specific type of investigation for intelligence, digital forensics, etc. Out of those 35 user stories, we extracted and prioritized more than 190 detailed end user requirements. And those end user requirements ended up in producing a set of technical specifications for the new tools that we needed to develop. This is what this slide tries to figure out. When we did this exercise, we didn't have any new tool. However, the LEAs were very happy because they started to have a very comprehensive set of requirements defined commonly and jointly defined using the same terminology, using one business process modeling tool called Adonis. I don't know if you know it, but this is very graphical, easy to use. And they could quickly identify that for this type of investigation, these are the tools that normally the market offers or the tools that we do. In this LEA organization, they follow these steps. In my specific organization, I follow a different step. Maybe I use a different tool, and they were learning from each other. So no new tools were put on the table. However, some LEAs were already changing their processes, internal procedures, for specific types of investigations based on the things they learned from the other LEAs. Okay, that was quite interesting. Well, another thing that is important is that we try to change the way that LEAs were participating in the project. In previous research projects, end users normally were expecting to be those that present the requirements, the needs, and that request from the rest of the consortium to deliver the solutions. In this project, this is not the approach. Is that you are a different type of partner, but you are just another partner. So LEAs, same as research organizations, same as industry, we all work together. Of course, each of us based on our own skills and capabilities, but we all work together all the time during those cycles to, again, all together define, prioritize, develop, evaluate, and reprioritize, readjust, etc. all the time. That was something that for all of us, but mainly for LEAs, has been a lesson learned. At this stage, the number of tools is higher than 45. I believe it's 49. We expect to have around 60 tools by the end of the project. We try all of those tools to be interoperable, scalable, and easy to integrate. And for that, we have adopted, we are delivering the tools as microservices in Docker containers, which is right now it's a quite standard kind of technology, which also facilitates a lot the interoperability and easiness to integrate these tools with the legacy systems of LEAs. And also we have a import-export tool to exchange data following the unified modeling, I don't remember the acronym now, UMF version 3, by the way. The UMF version 3 is the data model produced by some LEAs of some European countries that now is being adopted and is being promoted by Europol. So whatever tools we produce can be easily deployed and also can export and import data using this standard data model. And then I already commented the post-hackathon in-house evaluations, which is very important for all of us, also for LEAs to get engaged and continuously committed to the project. Well, with regard to the building of the community, firstly, we wanted to prove feasibility. We've already done that. Secondly, we want to, of course, define the licensing model I already mentioned, increase the number of stakeholders, and to find some champions that will adopt this process, this way of working together. We are right now talking with the European Commission, with Europol, with quite actually member states of the European Union in order to make sure that we have sufficient support and that we find the funding mechanisms for this framework to be permanent and not just temporary within the scope of one single project. Hopefully we will be successful, and we expect during the next year, 2019, to put in place all the mechanisms again so that this way of working together can last beyond the duration of the project. Okay, final remarks. Working together, LEAs, researchers, and industry is a difficult task because we have different mindsets, terminology, even different interests many occasions. So it's for the common benefit to understand those differences and to work together to kind of to find the hotspot of common interests. So we thought that it was very difficult to try to do it theoretically. So the best way is to do it in practice. That's why we had those short development cycles. And that's why every time we have one of those face-to-face meetings, every 6 months, we have some lessons learned sessions at which we decide what we need to change. So we change many things. We have already changed many things during the project, and we will continue changing as as long as we continue identifying things that we need to do better. For example, to understand better each other, to work more efficiently in future cycles, etc. Okay. At this stage, we believe that the process is valid. Actually, not only the project, but also, as I said, some other key stakeholders like Commission, European Commission, Europol, etc. And they are already involved in the project, and we are now taking the next step forward. Another important problem is data. You need data to develop, you need data to test, evaluate, and then you need data, real data for operational cases. Developing new technology without data that is real or very realistic is a difficult task, even more now with this machine learning thing. So you need to create new models, and for that you need lots of annotated data, but you cannot get access. For example, let me put an example to child sexual exploitation. Actually, researchers, it's illegal for us to get access to the real data. So we have to find a way to create synthetic, realistic, but usable data for us, for development. Also, we need subsets of data that are also good for evaluation. And then, of course, we need real data. The approach we followed, as I said, is that we try to get as much data for development as possible. We try to find data for evaluation, and then, because we acknowledge the fact that we cannot get access in many cases to real data, we ask LEAs to evaluate the tools with real data in those post-hackathon evaluations. Okay. Then again, there is a constant tension in the positive positive sense between the interests of LEAs, research, and industry. And it's as coordinator is kind of one of my most important tasks and concern, to make sure that all the time everybody reminds the common interest and the need to work together and to find that hotspot between all those interests, so that we all benefit in the end. Researchers, they normally think about scientific papers. Yeah.
Maybe if I may, because we're running a bit out of time, and maybe there are some questions. Maybe you can just say the very last remarks, and then we can come to the questions.
Oh, of course, sorry for that. I will
No
try to do
problem.
it in less than 1 minute. Researchers, they normally think about research not as much about the product the end user needs. So they tend to think about that, and we have to make sure that they also think about usability and user friendliness, etc. LEAs, I already commented, so I will skip it. The very good thing is that you can have very good collaboration if you work together and you understand what everybody wants to get from the project. So collaboration instead of customer provider kind of relationship. That's very important. And then continuous improvement process cycles. That's kind of another important lesson learned. Availability of people, Joel already commented this about, and also burning the end users if they don't understand what they should expect from the project. If they believe they will get final products from day one, that collaboration is going to be very difficult. So before they join, they should know what they should expect during the project, and that's it. I believe that I've gone through all of it. Sorry for taking more time than expected, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Juan, for this very interesting presentation, and I think you showed very well what the challenges for law enforcement agencies are. I think you explained also very well what Horizon 2020 is about, that you cannot expect to have operational tools after such a project, but it's really about research and innovation. Maybe you have some pilots, but a very important issue is also just the networking, the working together between the different stakeholders, between researchers and practitioners and European Commission. So I think you made that very clear. So if any one of the participants has a specific question to myself or to Juan, please put it into the chat, and then we will take it up. Just write it down and we will see it, and we will be able to answer it. So from my side, Juan, maybe you can tell us about the reactions of law enforcement agencies within this Asgard project. What do they tell you? Where do they benefit from directly? Because as you already mentioned, I mean, normally they are not doing research and innovation. They have their daily business. So they really have to take the time for this specific project. So there has to be a benefit. And I think you already mentioned some issues, but maybe very directly, what do they tell you? Why do they participate, and what is the benefit?
Okay, to be honest, there is not one single answer to that question, because there are many different realities in LEAs. Some LEAs do have more time that they can allocate to this type of projects because they have already created some units within the organization to support research activities. So the people that attend the meetings, etc., kind of they are doing their business by attending the project meeting. Okay. But then when they have to bring on board some people, other colleagues from their LEA organization that are really more operational, then the time that those other people can spend is very limited. So you have to make sure that they don't waste their time. On the other hand, some other LEAs do not have that kind of support unit or group of people, and all of the people coming to the project are really doing kind of overwork on top of their daily business. So it's important to understand that there are different realities, and that for each of them, as a project, you need to find a way to help them. So not only by asking them to provide the effort that they can provide and no more than that, but also maybe helping them to do the work or the job they have to do in the project. Maybe by giving to them tools and documentation, or going to their premises and helping them explain to the colleagues how these things work, etc. So different realities, different levels of needs and responses for those needs.
Okay. Thanks a lot. So unfortunately, we have no time left, and I would like to thank you very much, Juan, again. And I'm sure that if the participants have more questions, they can contact you also directly. I think the email is also in the presentation. So this was really very useful. So thanks a lot for being here with us today. And I would now like to go to the final poll, a short evaluation of this webinar, where you can just put in what you liked and maybe where we also can where we can be a bit better. So maybe you can just here put in to the different parts of this webinar evaluation. So just put it in there. Okay. Thank you. So let's go to the next one. This is the funding and networking opportunities part. Okay, any more comments? Then let's go to the next one, the project example of Juan. Okay, any more comments maybe? Okay, thank you very much for that as well. So then I would like to thank you again for your attention. Thank you very much for being here with us today. I hope that we were able to provide you with some basic information about networking and funding opportunities in the Horizon 2020 Security Program. If you have any further questions, please come back to me, come back to Juan. We will be very happy also to answer your specific questions. I will also send you a follow-up email with the slides, with all the links. And for now, I wish you a great day, and I'm looking forward to our future collaboration. Thank you very much for your attention.